good afternoon, a good Erev Shabbos. It's soon going to be Shabbos, and I normally look forward to having the opportunity to seeing you on Shabbos, to greeting you on Shabbos, and to speaking to all of you here in Shul on Shabbos. And I'm here in an empty shul, just talking to the seats, but I have a message that I would like to share with you. Where do we begin? We can't go to work, we can't go to school, we can't go to shul, we can't leave our homes. When will this end? How are we supposed to live our lives? How long will this last? What are we to think? Where do we even begin? Where do we begin? Tomorrow we're going to read Parshat Chodesh, and the first commandment, the first tzivui given to the entire Jewish people is this mitzvah: HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem, Rosh Chadoshim. This month is for you the head of all months. The first mitzvah that the Jewish people received. The Jewish calendar is very complex. On the one hand, Pesach must occur in the spring season to commemorate the time when the Jewish people left Mitzrayim, B'chodesh HaAviv. So Pesach always has to be in the spring. And so therefore, at some level, the tropical or solar calendar plays a role in our calendar. On the other hand, we know that all of the dates on the Jewish calendar follow the lunar calendar. The Yontif of Pesach is on the 15th day of the Hebrew month of Nisan. Sukkot is on the 15th of the month of Tishrei, etc., etc. And a solar calendar and a lunar calendar are very different. The solar calendar every year is 365 and a quarter days. Every 4 years there's a leap year to make it 366 days. And the average lunar year is 354 days. So you have 365 days and 354 days. Well, using that system, the lunar calendar is always going to be 11 days behind the solar calendar, and every year it's going to continue to lose 11 days. What's going to end up happening is, let's take the first year that the Jewish people experienced Yetzias Mitzrayim, the year 2448 from creation. It was the 15th of the month of Nisan. It was the spring season. Next year it would be 11 days earlier. Next year, 11 days earlier. Ultimately, Pesach would end up dropping into the winter. But yet, it's not allowed to. It has to be in the spring. So how do we compensate? The answer is that we have a very complicated leap year system. Approximately 7 out of every 19 years, we have a leap year. But unlike the solar year, where we add just one day to make sure that we're not losing time, in the Jewish calendar, the leap year, we actually add a full month. So if a standard lunar year is 354 days, then we'll have 384 days in a Jewish leap year. In that way, we don't lose too much time. It's a lunisolar system. It's complicated, but it works. Today we have a set calendar, so it's pretty simple. We look at the Luach, you go online, and you know exactly when all the holidays are. You want to know when your Hebrew birthday is in 100 years from now, you go to HebCal, it'll calculate it for you in a minute. But it wasn't always the case. A lunar month is 29 days, 12 hours, 43 minutes, and a few seconds. So from a practical standpoint, a lunar month has to either be 29 days or 30 days. In the olden days, Kiddush HaChodesh, the sanctification of the moon, was a very, very precise procedure. 2 witnesses were sent out by a special tribunal. They would go and see the reappearance of the moon in the sky in a special place. They would come back and they would report to this court, to this Beis Din, and after the Beis Din interrogated these witnesses, the Beis Din would determine what the new month is. Namely, they would determine whether the previous month is 29 days or 30 days, and then messengers and messages were sent all over the world to let people know what the story was. That's the mitzvah of Kiddush HaChodesh. when we study this mitzvah, you can't help but wonder, why is this the first mitzvah that was given to the Jewish people? It's something that's practiced by so few people. Very few people are involved in the Kiddush HaChodesh process, as I just explained. Just the witnesses and that special court. We would have expected something that would apply to all Jews, not just to a few Jews. Why is that the first of all the mitzvahs? And furthermore, it's something that's not practiced today. In his day, Hillel recognized that if we don't calculate all of the months going forward for all time, there's a risk that it's not going to happen. And so he and his court, they were Mekadesh, all the Chadashim, they sanctified all the months for all the years to come. So you now have a mitzvah that was practiced by very few people. It hasn't been practiced for centuries. And in case you haven't been paying attention, it's a really technical, complicated mitzvah. Find something more inspiring. Anochi Hashem Elokecha, I am the Lord your God. That makes sense as a first mitzvah. V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, love your fellow like yourself. What a beautiful mitzvah. Make that the first mitzvah. Perhaps the answer to these questions lies in one seemingly extra word in this mitzvah. The wording is that this is Achodesh Hazeh Lachem, for you. Why does it have to say Lachem? So the Gemara says that it's true, it would have been enough to say that HaChodesh Hazeh Rosh Chadashim. This is the month that's the head of all months. But the word Lachem teaches us that even if the Bezdin, if the court made a mistake and they made the new month on the wrong date, or even if they intentionally said, we know when it should be and we're still going to declare it on a different day, we follow what the Bezdin says. In essence, the control of time was given over to the Bezdin. The Jewish people in Egypt, they were slaves. A slave has no control over his or her own time. A slave does exactly what he or she is told and has to do whatever they're told when they're told. When the Jewish people were still in Egypt, before they had all the mitzvahs of Kashrus and Shabbos, Hashem wanted them to know that you have the ability to grab a hold of time. You can declare the new month even at the wrong time. We have the ability to grab hold of time in our lives. At this time of uncertainty and doubt, where there's a great degree of concern, what will the future hold for us? And it's difficult to know at some level, where do we begin? We should remind ourselves of what our ancestors were experiencing in Egypt. They also had hardship. They also didn't know what the future would be. They were given the mitzvah of Achodesh Hazeh Lachem to inspire them to know that they could grab a hold of time and they could control it. Social distancing does not allow us to have the normal human contact we are accustomed to or so desperately crave. How I miss each and every one of you. I can hardly wait until we are reunited in person. The Twizzlers in my pocket are beginning to feel a little bit hard. But until that time, grab a hold of time. Take time to reach out to those who are most isolated due to age and or because they are immunocompromised. Do it by phone, email, text, or better yet, if you can, video conference with them so that there's a little bit of that face-to-face interaction. Grab time and study Torah. Grab time while you are forced to daven at home and daven with a little bit more kavanah, with a little bit more fervor. There's nobody to talk to. Grab time and eat healthy. Grab time, exercise. These are just a few suggestions of how you can grab time to positively change your future and the future of others. And in so doing, you will have the ability to change your own fate and destiny until the time when we are able, in a rebuilt Beis Hamikdash, may it be speedily in our time, to sanctify the new month. And yes, my dear friends, that's where we begin. Have a wonderful, wonderful Shabbos.